Hi, my name is Matt. I'm with My Florida Homebuyers, and I am standing at a property that we purchased in Lake County in Central Florida. And this property actually doesn't have a house on it. The only building that's on this property is this workshop or barn right behind us here. And the reason I'm here at this property is because when we purchased this property had a bunch of unpaid delinquent property taxes on it. And in this video, I want to talk about delinquent property taxes, how you can avoid a tax deed auction, and how you can avoid losing your property to unpaid property taxes. Now, the first and most obvious thing that you can do to avoid losing your property for unpaid property taxes is actually pay the taxes. For a lot of people, that may not be an option, but that's obviously the easiest way to keep the property. Now, if you don't have the money to pay the entire property tax bill when it becomes due, you can actually contact your county and see if they can put you on a payment plan. And a lot of people do that if you're having hard times, you don't have the entire amount right then. You can actually get on a payment plan and make payments gradually throughout the year, and it makes it a little easier on you. So what happens if you don't pay the property taxes? In the state of Florida, property taxes, you'll get the bill in October or November, and they're due by March 31st. If you don't pay your property taxes by March 31st, the county will actually auction off what they call a tax certificate. And basically what this tax certificate is, it is a document that whoever purchases it, it entitles that purchaser to the entire tax amount as well as interest payment on the tax amount and other fees if there's other fees. So basically that person is purchasing that piece of paper, and then they are now entitled to collect the amount of taxes that are owed plus interest. The amount of interest that the person gets to collect on your property taxes is determined by the auction and by their certificate. So the way the auction works is they'll start with a really high interest rate, and then the auction actually goes by who's willing to pay or who's willing to receive the least amount of interest on that particular certificate. And the person who's willing to take the least amount of interest on that certificate is the actual person who gets to get the tax certificate. So the county will actually auction off these certificates on June 1st of the year that the taxes are due. And that's by state law. They have to auction them off on June 1st. So once that certificate is auctioned off, the person who now holds that certificate will have to wait 2 years before they can actually bring the property up for a tax deed auction and be able to auction off the property and actually force you to lose title to the property. So say you don't pay your taxes for this year, you wait until next year when it's due on March 31st, you still don't pay it, the tax certificate gets auctioned off on June 1st. Now you have another 2 years after that. It's actually 2 years from April 1st of that year, not from June 1st, but just about 2 years you have to actually go in and redeem and pay the certificate plus interest and any fees that are involved. And as long as you pay that within the 2 years, you can actually redeem the certificate and get your property back. Now, if you do not do anything after that certificate is issued to that certificate holder can now, after 2 years, they have to wait 2 years, and after 2 years, they can actually apply to have the property auctioned off to cover their certificate plus interest. And that's not what you want. That's the point of time when they're actually gonna auction off the property, and they're actually gonna auction off title to your property. So you will lose title at that point. You don't lose title during the initial certificate auction, but when that person comes around 2 years later, if they file to have the tax deed auction, the deed of the property is actually auctioned off to the highest bidder. Now, it may not be exactly 2 years after the certificate holder gets the certificate that they actually apply to have the property auctioned off. They actually don't have to apply after 2 years. They just have the option to apply after 2 years. So they may wait 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So the point is, you have 2 years of being able to actually redeem the certificate. If you do nothing after those 2 years, the property can actually be brought up for auction at any time, and you can lose that property. So when the property is actually auctioned off at the tax deed auction, say the certificate holder has applied after 2 years and they bring it up for tax deed auction, the proceeds of that auction, it's a public auction, and in most counties they actually hold the auction online, kind of like eBay. But the proceeds of that auction are going to go to pay off that certificate holder. So the amount of the taxes that are owed, plus the interest, plus any fees that are owed. Now, if the amount of the bid, if the winning bid, say it's a $50,000 winning bid, and the taxes that are owed are only $10,000, that excess will go to pay off any lien holders, if there's any you know, mortgage holders, lien holders on the property. And if there's, once all those are paid, and if there is none of those, if there are no lien holders, that money will actually be available to you as the previous owner, and you can actually claim that and have those proceeds sent to you as the previous owner if there's any left over after everyone's been paid. Now, if you have a property that is, you know, maybe you're facing a tax deed auction, maybe you owe a lot of back property taxes, and, you know, maybe you need to sell the property for whatever reason, we can actually purchase the property from you, whether it's vacant land like this or whether it's a house. If it is a house, we can purchase it in any condition. We can buy it as is. We'll pay all of the back property taxes for you. We'll pay all your closing costs. There's no fees, no commissions, and we can actually pay cash and close in as little as 14 days. So if that's something you want to do, we can definitely help you out with that. You might be thinking that, well, you know, if the property is going to get auctioned off anyways, why don't I just let it get auctioned off and I'll eventually just claim the excess funds? Why do I need to contact you guys? Why should I even think about selling the property? Well, here's why. So basically, when it gets auctioned off, say you have a house, that property is going to get auctioned off and people are going to be bidding online for that property. Those people are not going to be able to see the inside of the house. They're typically not going to be able to come out and inspect the property. So they're going to assume that the inside of the property, inside of the house, is in the worst possible shape. They have to assume the worst because they can't see it. If you contact us prior to the tax deed auction, let us come out, we'll inspect the property, we'll be able to go inside, look at the whole property, the total picture, and then we'll probably be able to offer you more than what you would get at the tax deed auction, just because we can see that, oh, hey, the kitchen is not in bad shape, or, you know, the roof is fine, or, you know, it doesn't have any sort of plumbing or electrical that we need to replace. So our price is typically going to be higher than what is, you know, than what people are going to bid at the tax deed auction, just because they can't see it. They don't have time to make inspections. So, you know, investors do this. I mean, we bid on stuff too. You have to assume the worst. So you're not going to assume that, you know, the kitchen is in great shape when you can't see the kitchen. You're not going to assume that the bathroom's in great shape. You're going to assume that you have to gut it and replace it. And that's the way most investors will bid. So by contacting us, you're potentially putting more money in your pocket by actually selling to someone who's actually going to do a thorough inspection on the property and is going to pay you what the property is actually worth, as opposed to what someone sitting at a computer who may have never even seen the property is willing to bid. So like I said, let us know if you have a piece of property that you owe delinquent taxes on. It's not a big deal. Don't let it go to the tax deed auction. Let us come out, take a look at the property. We'd be happy to purchase it from you. We'll pay you cash. We can close very quickly in as little as 14 days. And we'll buy it as is, so it doesn't matter what condition it's in. We'll actually purchase it, and we'll pay all your closing costs. There's no fees or commissions. Just go on our website, submit your property information, whether it's a house, whether it's vacant land, doesn't matter. We'll take a look at it for you, and we'll see if we can help you out with it. Again, my name is Matt. I'm with My Florida Homebuyers. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you on the next video.